Jessica Chambers was a 19-year-old woman from Courtland, Mississippi, whose horrific death in December 2014 shocked the nation and became a focal point for debates around justice, race, and forensic evidence. On the night of December 6, 2014, Jessica was found walking away from her burning car, covered in burns over 93 to 98% of her body. She was barely clothed, severely injured, and reportedly asked first responders for help before succumbing to her injuries the next day. Several firefighters and police officers claimed she said someone named Eric or Derrick had set her on fire but couldn't be sure. She was also still on fire and her vocal cords were restricted. That will come in later, and became a focal point for debates around justice, race, and forensic evidence. On the night of December 6, 2014, Jessica was found walking away from her burning car, covered in burns over 93 to 98% of her body. She was barely clothed, severely injured, and reportedly asked first responders for help before succumbing to her injuries the next day. Several firefighters and police officers claimed she said someone named Eric or Derrick had set her on fire but couldn't be sure. She was also still on fire and her vocal cords were restricted. That will come in later. The main suspect was Quinton Tellis, a local man who knew Jessica and was with her earlier that day. Prosecutors argued that Tellis strangled her after sex, believing she was dead, then set her car on fire to cover it up. Cell phone data placed Tellis and Jessica in the same location around the time of the murder. Tellis deleted all texts and calls between them after her death, which prosecutors saw as suspicious. Two separate trials, 2017 and 2018, ended in hung juries, with jurors unable to reach a unanimous verdict. The defense leaned heavily on Jessica's alleged dying words naming Eric, arguing she would have named Tellis if he were the attacker. A speech pathologist testified that Jessica's injuries were so severe she likely couldn't speak clearly. After the mistrials, Tellis was returned to Louisiana, where he's also a suspect in the 2015 murder of Mingchen Xiao, a graduate student who was stabbed over 30 times too. He's currently serving a 5-year burglary sentence in Mississippi and is expected to be released in October 2027. Jessica Chambers' story is one of the most haunting and complex criminal cases in recent memory. Her death in 2014 not only shocked her small Mississippi town, but also sparked national conversations about forensic science, racial dynamics, and justice. Jessica was found walking away from her burning car on Heron Road in Courtland, Mississippi. She had burns over 93 to 98% of her body, and her mouth and throat were so charred that speech was nearly impossible. Cell phone data placed Jessica and the suspect, Quinton Tellis, together throughout the day of her death. Her car keys, found days later in a ditch, had DNA that could not exclude Tellis as a contributor. Surveillance footage showed her car near Tellis's home and captured him changing clothes multiple times that day. A speech pathologist testified that Jessica's injuries likely made it impossible for her to clearly say any name. Jurors struggled with conflicting evidence, forensic data versus Jessica's alleged dying words. After the second mistrial, Tellis was returned to Louisiana to face charges in another murder case. Yes, another murder charge. The case highlighted the importance and limitations of mobile forensics, especially in rural areas with few cell towers. It also raised questions about interpreting speech from severely injured victims, leading to greater scrutiny of first responder testimony and the use of speech pathology experts in court. It became a flashpoint for discussions around racial tension, media bias, and the treatment of victims in small-town America. Her story continues to resonate because it's not just about a crime. It's about how we seek truth when the evidence is murky and emotions run high. Cell phone data. Analysts showed that Jessica and Tellis' phones were in close proximity throughout the day of the murder, including near the crime scene. Text messages. Jessica had rejected Tellis' sexual advances via text. He deleted all communication with her after her death, which prosecutors argued was suspicious. Surveillance footage captured Jessica and Tellis together earlier that day, and Tellis at a store buying a money card shortly after the fire was reported. Gasoline evidence. Gasoline was found on Jessica's clothing, and Tellis allegedly had access to gasoline stored in a shed. 2017 trial. Jury confusion led to a mistrial after they initially returned a not guilty verdict, only to reveal they were split. 2018 retrial. Despite new expert witnesses, the jury again deadlocked, with a reported 6-6 split. The case became a flashpoint for discussions on racial dynamics, forensic limitations, and media influence. Tellis remains incarcerated on unrelated charges and could still face a third trial after being sentenced to 5 years for an unrelated burglary. Investigators used mobile forensics to piece together Jessica Chambers' final hours with remarkable precision. Jessica and Quinton Tellis' phones pinged off the same towers throughout the day, placing them together at key locations. Around the time of the murder, both phones were traced to Heron Road, near the crime scene. Jessica's phone stopped transmitting at 8:04 p.m., just minutes before her car was found ablaze. Tellis' phone showed movement away from the scene shortly after, suggesting he may have fled. Surveillance footage and phone data were synchronized to build a minute-by-minute timeline of their movements. This helped confirm that Jessica picked up Tellis, visited Taco Bell, and returned to Courtland before the attack. Jessica's cell phone was found near her car, partially burned but still usable for data extraction. Tellis' DNA was found on her car keys, which were discovered days later in a ditch. This case became a landmark example of how digital breadcrumbs, even in rural areas, can be used to reconstruct a victim's final moments. In Jessica Chambers' case, speech pathology became a pivotal and controversial element during the trials. Jessica's alleged final words. 8 first responders testified that Jessica said Eric did it, or possibly Derrick, when asked who attacked her. This statement became central to the defense, arguing that Quinton Tellis couldn't be the killer since his name wasn't Eric. In the second trial, prosecutors brought in Dr. Carolyn Wiles-Higdon, a speech pathologist from Ole Miss. She testified that Jessica's injuries to her lungs, mouth, and larynx would have made it impossible for her to articulate words clearly. Higdon explained that speech requires coordination between the tongue, lips, palate, and vocal cords, all of which were severely damaged in Jessica's case. Experts like Joanne Lasker from Emerson College noted that while Jessica may have been cognitively coherent enough to recognize people and answer basic questions, her ability to accurately name her attacker was questionable. Repeating Eric could have been a sign of perseveration, a symptom of mental deterioration, rather than a reliable identification. Jessica's autopsy showed soot inhalation and injuries to her tongue and mouth. Some experts argued she could physically say Eric, while others said it was a stretch to assume she meant Tellis but couldn't pronounce the T sound. The prosecution used speech pathology to undermine the reliability of Jessica's alleged dying words. The defense leaned heavily on those words to cast doubt on Tellis' guilt. Ultimately, both trials ended in hung juries, showing how divided jurors were on this issue. Jessica Chambers' autopsy revealed the devastating extent of her injuries and became a cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Officially ruled as homicide due to thermal injuries and soot/smoke inhalation. Jessica had burns over 93 to 98% of her body, with most being third degree, the deepest and most destructive type. Her airways were coated in soot, indicating she was alive and breathing when the fire started. Her vocal cords and tongue were swollen and burned, which experts testified would have made speech nearly impossible. Burns covered her face, scalp, neck, chest, back, arms, and legs. The only areas spared were her groin, buttocks, soles of her feet, and parts of her upper thighs, suggesting she was seated in an enclosed space, likely her car, when the fire ignited. Tests showed marijuana and nicotine in her system, but no alcohol or other drugs. Dr. Aaron Barnhart, the deputy medical examiner, and burn specialist Dr. William Hickerson both testified that Jessica's injuries were non-survivable. Hickerson explained that her skin was so stiff from burns that doctors had to make incisions just to help her breathe. These findings were used to support the theory that Jessica was conscious but unable to speak clearly, challenging the defense's reliance on her alleged dying words. In court, Jessica Chambers' autopsy photos were used to illustrate the severity of her injuries and support expert testimony about her ability or inability to speak clearly before her death. Chambers' mother believes her daughter may have been trying to tell first responders something else, after possibly awaking from unconsciousness to find herself on fire and not knowing what happened. What if she thought she had a wreck? Doherty tells the court. The medical examiner claimed she could not have enunciated anything. There's no way she made the statement, "Eric did this to me." She was unable to. How was she supposed to know right then and there that somebody actually did it? In February 2016, the district attorney announced the indictment of Tellis, whom he identified as a gang member and habitual offender. Champion said authorities focused on Tellis after verifying information on the location of his phone. "We knew he was the last person she was with at the time. Tellis and the victim knew each other," he told reporters. "They're from the Courtland area. They had been introduced by a friend." The timeline authorities constructed showed that Chambers had been home just before 5 p.m. on the day of her attack, napping in a chair in her living room after watching CSI with her mother. After answering a call on her cell phone, she left in her car and reached the M&M Mini Mart at 5:15 p.m., where she bought $14 in gas. Around 5:45 p.m., she called her mom to say she'd be back in a little bit, and then stopped by another Courtland home. Cell phone records then placed her for 10 to 15 minutes in the area of a stoplight on Highway 6, headed toward Batesville. The subsequent 62 minutes, between 6:30 p.m. and 7:32 p.m., also known as the mystery hour, took time to untangle. When Jessica's phone showed, she reached the Heron Road location where her burning vehicle was spotted. In advancing a motive, authorities said recovered text messages between the two showed that Chambers had rejected Tellis' requests for sex 4 times. During Tellis' first murder trial, Champion argued that he and Chambers eventually had sex the night she was attacked, after which Tellis tried to suffocate her before setting her and her vehicle on fire, believing she was already dead. At Tellis' first trial, Palmer said he was at the store at the time of Chambers' attack, though prosecutors contended that is where he went after setting Chambers on fire in order to give himself a false alibi. The first trial ended in confusion. The jury did not understand the way they were supposed to vote and fill out forms. Here is a clip from that.
I have been informed that the jury has reached a verdict in this case. My standard admonishment to spectators in the courtroom is that there absolutely be no outburst of any kind from anyone. There will certainly be no displays of emotion or anything of that nature. If it is, you will be promptly removed from the courtroom and further proceedings, and you will face the penalty of contempt. So please remember, this is a court of law, and I would expect you to dignify that as best you can. I understand that this has been a very emotional time for families and loved ones in this case. I understand all that very perfectly. this court has a heart like any other person. And I understand both sides, both families that are involved and friends. I understand all of that. At the same time, I'm going to ask you and remind you to dignify these court proceedings accordingly. All right, if you bring the jury in, please. I've been told that the jury's reached a verdict. Is that correct? Did you all select a foreman? All right, sir. Let's see. Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. I don't need to know what your verdict was, but I just need to know, did all 12 jurors agree on that verdict?
Yes, sir, we did.
All right. Would you hand the verdict, please, to the court, to the clerk? Excuse me.
We all didn't agree on it.
Sir?
You said we all agreed on that verdict. We didn't.
All 12. The verdict has to be unanimous. So all 12 did not agree on the verdict? Is that what you're telling me, sir?
Yeah, I didn't agree he was in.
All right. I'd ask you to step back into the jury room, please. Pass the verdict, please, to the clerk that you have in your hand. Give them the jury instruction back. All right, court will meet with counsel in chambers.
That was the first try. Here's the second.
All right, bring the jury in, please. All right, once again, I've been informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And now I need to ask you if that verdict represents the considered judgment of all 12 jurors. In other words, is it unanimous?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, has that verdict been recorded on a separate sheet of paper?
Yes, Your Honor.
Or would you pass it to the clerk, please? Would the clerk please read the verdict?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Quinton Tellis, not guilty of capital murder.
Right. Any request of counsel?
Yes, sir. Request the jury be polled.
All right. I need my list. Thank you. It's been requested that the jury be polled. In other words, I'm going to start down here. I'm going to ask each one of you if that is your verdict. You just need to tell me yes or no. Okay? All right. Ms. Martin?
Not guilty.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Madison?
Not guilty.
McGee?
Guilty. I'm sorry.
Mr. Lampkin?
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson?
Jackson.
Jackson? I'm sorry. It says Johnson. All right, Mr. Johnson. All right, thank you. Ms. Felder?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Gauss? Ms. Boyd? Is that a yes, ma'am? All right. Mr. Jones?
Guilty.
Mr. Coleman?
Guilty.
Mr. McKinley?
Guilty.
Mr. Bullock? Ms. Bullock, excuse me. All right.
I'm way misunderstanding here.
I can't, I was having trouble hearing. All right. You may approach.
Yes, you heard that right. Not an unanimous verdict again. Twice in one trial.
It's very important we understand what your response is. And so I'm going to ask you to speak loudly so that I can hear you. The verdict that I have recorded here is we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. So I'm going to ask you, Ms. Gauss, is not guilty your verdict?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Ms. Boyd.
Are you asking?
I'm asking you if you voted not guilty.
I voted guilty.
You voted guilty. All right. Mr. Jones.
I voted guilty.
All right, Mr. Coleman.
I voted guilty.
All right, Mr. McKinley.
I voted guilty.
Ms. Bullock.
I voted guilty.
All right, Ms. Martin.
I'm not guilty.
Ms. Madison.
I voted guilty.
All right, Mr. McGee.
Not guilty.
Mr. Lampkin.
Guilty.
Mr. Johnson.
Jackson.
Not guilty. Ms. Felder. All right. May I see the jury instructions, please? It is very important that you all try again to reach a verdict, all right? Obviously, there's a split between you all as to the verdict in this case. I'm going to read you the instruction again. Give you some more time to deliberate. I don't know why the verdict was recorded as it was, but at any rate, I'm going to ask you to go back, consider your verdict, deliberate, and please record your verdict accurately, all right? I know that it is possible for honest men and women to have honest different opinions about the facts of a case, but if it is possible to reconcile your differences of opinion and decide this case, then you should do so. Accordingly, I remind you that the court originally instructed you that the verdict of the jury must represent the considered judgment of each juror. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate in view of reaching an agreement if you can do so without violence to your individual judgment. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your own views and change your opinion if you are convinced it is erroneous. But do not surrender your honest convictions as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of returning a verdict. Please continue your deliberations. You may approach. In order, we're going to stand just for a moment in recess. I may have another jury instruction to read you, all right? So just stay in our seats a moment. Gentlemen, I'm going to put you back in your jury room, and I hope it won't be long before I send for you, but I'll send for you as soon as I can. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to read you one more instruction, then I'm going to send you back to your jury room once more. And I want you to consider this instruction along with all the other instructions I've previously given to you. The court instructs the jury that all 12 jurors must agree on the verdict in order to find the defendant guilty. The court instructs the jury that all 12 jurors must agree on the verdict in order to find the defendant not guilty. If you are unable to reach a unanimous verdict as to guilty or not guilty, please advise the court in writing. All right. I will now send you back to your jury room for further deliberations. All right, we'll be in recess till the jury returns. I've been advised that the jury is ready to report. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's been reduced to writing?
Yes, Your Honor.
How would you hand it to the bailiff, please? Clerk will read the verdict, or the report, I should say.
We, the jury, cannot unanimously make a verdict of guilty or not guilty for the defendant Quinton Tellis.
In request of counsel? Defense?
No, sir, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your duties. I want to tell you how much I appreciate your taking the time and giving up your freedom to assist the citizens of Panola County in this case. It's a very difficult case. You've been very conscientious in your duty. And as I told you down in Pike County earlier last week, that I hold jury service in high regard. And I rate it right up there with serving in the military. And I hope that the next time that you're called, hope it won't be any time soon for you, but I do hope that you will take advantage of your experience and be willing to serve the people of Pike County again. I thank you for your service. I'm going to put you in charge of your bailiff where you will be taken back to your homes today. Thank you very much. You're excused. The court will remain in order until the jury is excused. You'll bring the jury through, please.
I'm going to ask everybody to remain in their seats until the jury is finally discharged from the courthouse. Once that's done, a member of my staff will let y'all know when we can move to the outside to your vehicles. For the meantime, please just stand fast where you are.
The jury could not reach a verdict in this case, and it appears to the court that they were hopelessly deadlocked probably after 9 or 10 hours of deliberation. The court is going to officially declare a mistrial. And all right, thank you.
One thing that I have a question about. How do we know that Tellis ever told her his real name? He was a troublemaker and in a gang, so it wouldn't be hard to use a fake name. What do you think? This is a summary, basically, of this case. If you want to see more, please leave a comment, and if I get enough, I will do more. Thanks for watching, and please remember to hit the like and subscribe if you want to see more.